Oh, hello, and welcome back to the Enchanted Self world. I'm Dr. Barbara Becker Holstein, and I'm originator of the Enchanted Self, a way of living that brings more hope, joy, fun, and all sorts of good things into our lives. Most of you know me. Most of you know that this is my wonderful, enchanted place where we come and we visit, we talk, we catch up on things. So I'm so glad you're back. But I am just so unbelievably excited today. I have a secret to share with you, and I'm just like filled with it. I want to wait because I know in a minute or two a dear friend of mine is going to show up, and you know what it is about a secret. You have to share it, right? So I'm going to wait and share it with May Eisenberg when she comes. I'm just going to give you a little background now. You know I'm a positive psychologist. You know I wrote The Enchanted Self, a positive therapy, helping us and helping clinicians help us to see our lives in positive ways and to find ways to unearth our potential, reward ourselves for our strengths, our talents, our interests, our coping skills, and live a much more joyous life, a life where we have positive times constantly if possible. Some days are better than others, but we constantly get in touch with the best of ourselves. We recreate it, we rebirth it, and we learn how to have unique enchanted self times that just fit each of us, so that my pleasure may be different from yours. You may love to go golfing, and I may want to go and have a milkshake and read a book. It doesn't really matter. It's what works for each of us in terms of feeling good and feeling whole. But there's always been a mystery around this, how to get people to find their lost potential and give it life again, how to find their talents and strengths and not just list them on a piece of paper, but feel so exuberant that they can't wait to get out there and try something old, new again, something new, old again, and make it their own and feel full of life. And it's always been a little difficult. I have many ways that work, but I'm still searching. How can we get that essence, that joyful part of ourselves, that part that knows everything, can be wonderful and get it going again? I'm going to tell you the secret. I am waiting for May. It's a beautiful day. We're in this gorgeous make-believe but real garden, and I bet you May is coming along the path right now. I bet any second she's going to be here with me. Well, let me think and see and look around. May, you are here. You just came down the path. Sit down, get comfortable. Aren't the flowers beautiful today?
Yes, they are.
Everything
lovely.
Is great. So, you know, I was waiting for you.
Thank you.
I didn't want to tell
like
this.
being
Yeah,
waited for.
I didn't want to tell the whole secret till you came.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready when you are.
All right. So you know that I have this wonderful, magical place, and we're sitting in the garden, and you know that up on the hill is that great house that I have with those wonderful little rooms in it and the closets, and it's just the cutest thing. Well, I was going through the closets way in the back of a closet the other day, and I discovered the most incredible thing. I discovered a manuscript, actually written in a notebook from somebody. I don't know who she was, and I don't know where she is, and I don't know what's happened to her, but it's a book. And it's a book in diary form because this girl kept a diary, obviously. And it's wonderful and uplifting, magical to me, because the diary is helping me on the path that I was talking, and you know all this, but as you were coming up the path, I was reminding people who follow the Enchanted Self that I'm always looking for that extra way. How can we get the exuberance, the thrill inside going again as we live life that's special to us? How do we get that passion rekindled? Well, this book is really helping me find a way to teach more about that and share it. And I took the liberty of taking her notebook and transcribing it, you know, taking out her misspellings and the things that go with 10 and a half, 11-year-old girls.
Oh, she's
and
that young.
Yeah, she's that young. And I'm going to, I thought we could read some of the pages together a little bit, and I might even try to act them out a little bit just to give them even more life, and we'll talk.
I'm very curious.
Yeah. So the name of the book, and it's her name, she had given it, is The Truth. And she says, this is my secret diary, not the one that says Girl Scout Diary on it. I leave that around just to fool the grown-ups. This is the real truth. This is where I write everything I don't want to forget. So let's see a little bit about what this girl knew and whether it does trigger in us some of our old passions and curiosities about life and wisdom, a wisdom from that pure state that sometimes gets covered over as we get older. Well, on the first page, she doesn't really talk about wisdom, but what she does talk about, and we must remember that she's 10, is that she's in a state of shock because today she fell in love. And she says, I can't believe it. I fell in love today. I never thought I would fall in love till I was at least 15. I'm in shock. But this boy walked into the classroom, and I just knew it was love. I looked into his eyes, and it was like nothing I ever
Love at
felt.
first sight.
Yes, nothing I ever felt before. In fact, she says, our eyes locked. And then she says, I read that in a novel my mother had, you know. But she falls in love. Her stomach is all going upside down. She doesn't know.
Well, what about the boy? Is he in love with her too?
The boy doesn't probably even notice her.
I
In fact,
see.
she mentions the boy was given a seat by the teacher in the next row. Remember the old days there were rows? Yes.
Very well.
And the boy gets to sit next to her best friend, Angela. Now she's worried. Oh my goodness. She says, I hope Angela doesn't fall in love with him because I'm in love. I can't have Angela fall in love. You know, how will I handle it if she likes him too? He is mine, is what she says. His name is Paul. How will I ever go to school with all these funny feelings now? I can't wait for tomorrow. First she can't go to school again. Now she can't wait for tomorrow. Now I know that girls fall in love. It happened to me today, and that's the truth.
That's
So,
her truth.
That's her truth.
Right.
So that's the first
Don't
thing.
we all have our own
Yes,
truth?
don't we all have our own? Right.
Uh-huh.
And it's so important that our own is honored and that somebody doesn't criticize or say, well, that's stupid. That's not the truth. You know,
Yeah.
or that's just the way you saw it. Well, yes, it may be the way you saw it, but that's very important.
Yeah. Yes, it is. That's a whole big thing right there because people's idea of the truth is often something that is just part of it. In other words,
That's right.
no matter how many of us there are, each one of us is a part of the truth. So how can any one person be the real truth?
And yet, it's important to honor each other's truths and also try to convince each other at times because, you know, we're trying to get a bigger picture than just ourselves. For example, I was down in New Orleans, and I've been writing in my Enchanted Self newsletter, and I don't know if you get it or if you even want it, but twice a month I send out a newsletter which anyone can get. Just write to me at www.enchantedself.com, and I've been telling them about my trip to New Orleans. Now, to me, New Orleans looked devastated. I went on a tour of the city. 85% of the city is destroyed.
Yes.
In my opinion,
Yes.
it's horrible.
Oh, yes,
It's just
we all know
horrible.
that.
Now, that was my truth, what I saw and what I wrote about. One of my friends who gets a newsletter comes from, her husband comes from New Orleans, and she wrote to me right away, and she said, Barbara, when you go back and do your second newsletter on the same subject, I hope you'll include some of the improvements and some of the great things going on.
Have you ever been to New Orleans before
Yes, twice.
the hurricane?
Twice.
So the truth then was not what the truth is now
right.
at all.
But she
and
said,
yet it's the same place.
Yes, but she said also that there is tremendous vitality going on in many areas, and she gave me many things that she told me, different neighborhoods that have come to life and so forth.
Yeah.
And I wrote some of that in my next newsletter, but I'm just bringing that up to show how the truth, we all stumble. We need to keep improving on what the truth is. But for women, the women I work with in positive psychology, positive therapy, it's very important that the truth as we see it be honored and respected. And if a woman says that she's feeling disconnected from herself and she's not feeling happy and she doesn't know how to get those old feelings of energy, you don't just poo-poo and say, oh, well, maybe a good night's sleep. You know, I mean, yes, as a friend, you can make light conversation and suggest things. But when you're really working with somebody, you've got to honor what they're trying to describe and help them from there. And this little girl fell in love. It's a very, very big deal to her. Amazingly big deal. She brings up many topics, and she brings up something I'm going to skip for the moment, but she goes back to her love very quickly, and now she's really worried. She's had a few days, obviously, to think about love, and she says, I'm worried. How will I know who to marry if I can't marry this boy? You know, she's already figured out. How can she be sure she's going to marry him? He hasn't even noticed her. But now, how will I know? How will it ever happen? I couldn't stand to be alone as a grown-up. You know, and she already has strong feelings and emotions.
That's a very premature little girl.
No, but you know what? It really isn't. I mean, it may be, I'm not saying she's average, but when I've read some of these things aloud already to other women, I already had another woman tell me she fell in love at 9 also, and she recounted her little love.
Well, I just want to say something here. See, I'm 83 years old, and things were different when I was young. My mother sent me to a girls' school, so I never had the opportunity to meet any boys I might like.
Right. Let me go to something a little more universal. This is another little thing she talks about very early. She says, yesterday, my cousin George came to the house. He was going to stay overnight. And we took him out to lunch, and then we took him to supper at Howard Johnson's. And I know my parents really wanted to see him. But what I couldn't understand is that he kept swearing. And I don't even want to write in my diary the words that he used. But everything that he used was bad, and I'll just say certain things started with an H or they started with a D. And then he'd just say them like they were nothing to my mother. And what the H do you think of that, Edith? And my mother would laugh like nothing happened. She could care less. And I was so angry inside. He was like spoiling the day. And at one point I wanted to say to him, I'm going to charge you a nickel every single time you say a bad word. But I knew my parents wouldn't allow that.
Well, she was too young. They didn't listen to her.
And so I was so happy when I woke up the next morning and he had already left. And then she says, grown-ups say they know so much about life, but I know more. I know swearing is bad for all of us, and that's the truth.
Well, you want to know something? My mother was from Europe. She couldn't even speak English well or anything. But when I was 14, I had been listening to her all along because she was my mother. And of course I could talk her language, in fact, several languages. And then I said to myself when I was 14, I woke up like this child woke up at 9 or 10 or 11 or whatever.
Right, just 10.
And I said, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She doesn't know the real world. See, my real world was not her real world. And I could not live with her world. I found that I wanted only my own, and I felt that she was very, very ignorant, my mother. There you go.
Yeah, and you saw some of this was, I'm sure, very insightful and had some wisdom. Some of it may have been a little prejudiced because you had feelings mixed in and so on. But still, it's very important that we're validated for what we see and what we think is the truth. And that what I have found is that, see, you're sharing with me a memory. It's from a little different age group, but there's so much in that memory. There's a memory that is involved in your whole development of persona and breaking away from your mother to get your own dignity as a person.
Well, it can be different for every person. Like
Sure.
This child, it was different for her. She did it at a younger age than I did. Some people don't even do it till they're 18.
That's right. And absolutely. And yes, I agree. This little girl, let me see if I can give you something else that is kind of what we're talking about, a truth. Here's a simple truth that I'm sure happened to you. It happened to me a million times. She says, why does Betsy hate me? Okay? Why is she so mean to me? I see her talking about me as I walk by. I know something's going on. She's sort of pointing at my skirt. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a little too short, maybe because I wore the skirt last year. But I don't like the way I feel. And I don't like Betsy right now. I hate her. And my mother says to ignore her. But that doesn't really help. You know? The truth is, people shouldn't make fun of you. It really hurts.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunately true. But it's like the countries themselves, a whole country, can hate another country or make fun of another country. And then you get your wars and you get your misunderstandings. And in fact, nowadays they say the whole UN is totally mixed up. And they have to reorganize the United Nations. It goes up and up and up.
It does, but I think the advantage of helping women get back to the fresh eyes of someone like this little girl is to remember that we have to start at home. We have to start with ourselves, with our own children, with our own neighborhood. You know, there are those few people in the world that get to sit at the United Nations and talk for 1 million or 100 million people. Most of us talk for ourselves and maybe 5 people, you know, maybe. So for us, we've got to start right with, say, our children, to help a child either understand more why another child may be making fun of her and help her with it. Not just say, well, don't think about it, you know, because that may not be enough. And also to make sure that we're not gossiping and putting people down. And, you know, I've even had the experience, even past my psychology degree, of maybe sitting at lunch with my girlfriends and now we're gossiping. maybe whatever it is.
Gossip
And
is,
then,
everyone does
and
it.
then someone will say, shh, because someone else is in the restaurant or
Yeah.
something. But that's something we can work on and we can control as we get older. And if you're going to talk about someone, you can talk about them in a positive way. Yes, you may have to, go ahead.
Well, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way
But
in the real world.
What is the real world, though?
It's the real world is what's all around us, but unfortunately, we don't all think alike. And yet, when you think about it, all women gossip if they have friends to gossip with. They just do it.
Well, I think we can all, I've been with many different women, and some women know how to put something with a positive twist to it, and some people know how to just make you feel very bad, even as they're telling you, because what's going through your head is, there but for the grace of God.
Go on.
Right. So it's important.
But it's not the real truth. They may have a wrong idea and think that they're talking the truth, but they're really not. They're just gossiping, making up things even themselves.
That could well be.
That might not be
Yes,
true.
yes. That's
And
right.
spreading it around
Well,
so
that's
that
even
people
worse.
think it's true.
And that's another thing. It's another area for us because we're grown-ups to be sensitive to. This little girl is alerting us. She's like a lighthouse with a beacon coming out. A lighthouse isn't the whole answer, and she's not the whole answer, but she's alerting us. Here's one more thing, because we've been already told we have less time to be together in the garden. Here's when her parents have a fight. Last night, my parents had a big fight. I could almost hear them through the walls. My ears were shut tight, but my eyes were shut tight, but my ears were wide open like big elephant ears, trying to hear every word. I couldn't, but they made me nervous and I couldn't sleep. Today in school, I was very tired. I'm skipping. I could teach my parents so much if they would only listen. Why would a grown-up waste energy putting someone down that he's supposed to love? I don't get it. And waste so much time, and before you know it, everyone's mood is bad. It's not right, and she knows that.
Yeah, well, that's a very insightful little person.
Yeah, she is very insightful, and isn't it like a miracle that I found her book in the back of that closet, and that I can bring it to you. You're first.
Thank you.
Yes,
I
and
feel honored.
And other women out there, I hope many, many women will have a chance to read the truth. And May, we've worked together for a long time, and you'll probably understand what I'm going to do now. Where did I put my little present? Here's my present for you. Okay. So the truth is a secret diary. But on the other hand, women are both we all need our secret sides, but we also need our public side. We need to be able to honor both the secret side of ourselves, the private side, and the public, and not feel diminished or put down, feel good about ourselves. So I have been finding a way to share that through these heart necklaces, which are a key, a way to open your heart, and yet keep your private thoughts private, but it's a way of saying, I am an enchanted self, I'm a special, unique woman with certain talents and abilities, and I'm proud of it, and I wear a heart to show I have a big heart. I wear this spiral of energy to show that I have passion, I have energy, I can take the ups and downs of life, and I know, May, you have taken many ups and downs, and maybe we'll talk about them more in another show, but you've been a heroic woman. Anyway, you are receiving an Enchanted Self necklace with a little Cupid on it for good luck and for happiness, and to remind yourself that you are an enchanted self. Okay? And see, it goes, well, you've got to move this, yeah. I told you it was going to go perfectly, that I had a surprise, and it would go perfectly with your scarf.
She told me that.
Not to worry.
I'm not good at
And it's, wait, let's just show it off. Maybe we can just, yeah. So it's a heart with the spiral in sterling silver, and then the cupid, the little cupid angel right next to it on another spiral of sterling. And May, you've been very good to me, and I'm so glad you got to hear the truth first, and now you're wearing an enchanted self necklace.
Thank you very much.
So,
I love it. It's beautiful.
Good. Thank you.
And I like it on you as well.
Thank you very much. So, well, we'll continue chatting in the garden, but I guess we're going to be leaving everyone out there. Bye for now.